And then we go and spoil it all by loaning someone useful like Chalobah. We wouldn't though, would we? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And I've taken a little break from transfer news and stuff to focus on some football, but there's some stuff going on today, so let's get back into it. But guys, before we do, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so I'm not really, I don't really believe this one, man. It's just, I've seen it. So, let's just speculate and, just have a good time talking about it. Supposedly, Inter Milan are preparing a loan bid for Trevoh Chalobah. Now, if there is absolutely one thing that could completely alienate the fan base, the manager, after all of the good work that we've done and how wicked everything is looking recently, it is loaning Trevoh Chalobah to Inter Milan in the midst of our centre-back crisis. Why would you even do it, man? It's just silly, isn't it? Like, from Inter's perspective, why would you even prepare the bid? So I saw this from footballtransfers.com. Now, one thing I'm learning as a content creator is obviously there are top tier journalism who you kind of believe every single time, and there are a lot of rags where all of the nonsense and silly season stuff comes out. Do you guys know anything about footballtransfers.com, and is it a source that is worth any sort of salt at all? Let me know in the comments and tell me where you guys get your news from as well, because I'm always looking to expand my repertoire. But Chalobah can't go anywhere, man, can he? Absolutely can't go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? After last season and banishing him, the Crystal Palace loan, bringing him back, him fighting his way back into the team, being, obviously one of the two really good centre-backs we now have, bearing in mind that Levi Colwill is not going to be available. It's just silly, isn't it? It's just silly. Like I say, man, I don't really even understand why Inter would prepare a bid in the first place, because it's just an absolute misnomer, isn't it? It's just not going to happen. And if it did happen, there'd be riots, absolute riots. Everyone would go nuts. The manager would go nuts. The fan base would go nuts. It would just be a PR nightmare. And what for, man? What for? Like, if we were selling him, then I still wouldn't agree with it, at all, and there'd still be a lot of people upset, but at least you'd be making some money which you could reinvest. Do you know what I mean? Loaning Trevoh Chalobah out just makes no sense. It's absolutely silly. And what that is going to bring me on to is something very, very interesting that I've seen about the centre-back situation. Maresca is coming out and saying it with his chest. So there was a press conference yesterday. I actually talked about it in my video yesterday, which is my Crystal Palace Chelsea Premier League preview. So go and check that video out if you haven't already, guys. Had a lot of fun making it. We got back to the old predicted 11s and the graphics and talked about the presser and stuff. But in yesterday's presser, Maresca intimated that the centre-back we're looking for is actually not the left-sided centre-back, and obviously because Levi Colwill was left-footed, that's what a lot of us have been thinking. We're going to need to go in for someone left-sided or whatever. Maresca kind of stamped on that, and came out yesterday and said, no, actually what we're looking for is a central centre-back to play in the middle of the back three when we're in attack. Of the 64 games that we played last season, only Colwill and Tosin Adarabioyo actually played that, and, it kind of worked. He's come out after that, so there's another press conference. Well, not another, it's the same press conference, but there's a second part to it that is only for the journalists, right? To give them something to put out. It's one just for the journos. And as of yesterday, Fabrizio Romano was putting out several tweety McTweetersons about how Maresca is, like I say, man, he's kind of coming out with his chest. Now, I've got a little quote here. Maresca insists on new centre-back. Wesley Fofana, played 45 minutes in the middle of the three. One of the worst halves from us. So, mate, he's slating Fofana in that middle role. Badiashile, Conference League final. First half, losing 1-0. We changed in with Levi and won 4-1. It's not the same. The one in the middle is so, so, so important. So what we are getting a little insight into here is just how much Enzo Maresca values that centre-back, that central centre-back role. The Parsi Maguba, the guy who, it's not just about being a centre-back. I sort of said in my video the other day about it. It is a very, very, almost deep-line midfielder sort of thing. He's looking to start attacks, to connect play together. It is more about just chasing people down, making tackles and the defensive actions. That's obviously really important, and every centre-back needs to be able to do that. But this centre-back role in particular needs to have a bit more to his game. And he's literally given us two, clear-cut examples of why the other... Although we've still got lots of centre-backs, do you know what I mean? We've got Badiashile, we've got Wesley Fofana, we've got Tosin Adarabioyo, and we've got Trevor Chalobah. We've also technically still got Axel Disasi. We've got Ansel Mino. Do you know what I mean? There's so many centre-backs. We are stocked, not stacked, stocked, right? We've got loads of them, but other than Tosin Adarabioyo, now Levi Colwill's out, Maresca absolutely thinks we have no one who can play that role. So he isn't just saying, oh, I need another centre-back. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, Trevor Chalobah and Tosin are good. Badiashile performs a role really, really well. He is absolutely coming out with his chest and saying to Bluecoat, to the brass, get me this guy, because if you don't, my entire game plan falls apart. So it's like one of those things, isn't it? It's like we've got 4 fullbacks who can all play the inverted midfield role. Do you know what I mean? So you've got Reece James, you've got Malagusto on the right, and on the left you've got Marc Cucurella, and now you've got Jarell Hatto. We are stocked with fullbacks, who can play that really, really, really specific role, and that's obviously really important to him. He wants byline wingers. Do you know what I mean? He's really, really keen on byline wingers. We've brought in Jamie Gittins, and we are probably going to bring in Alejandro Garnacho too. Both of our right wing options. Oh, actually, no, the right wing options are a little bit different. Maybe that's not a good comparison. But either way, there is enough there to tell you Maresca is 100% saying, get me this centre-back option because I need it for my system. And if you don't give it to me, things are not going to go well. That is like, you can say a lot with saying a little, right? And that's what I think Maresca is doing here. So I'll be really interested to see what happens with that. Is Mark Guehi that guy? I've seen more links to Mark Guehi recently, although I read that he'd agreed terms with Liverpool, so not 100% sure what's happening with that. One of my subscribers, a guy I chat to quite a lot in my comments, mentioned a guy called Castello Lucaba, French, a young French centre-back lad. He looks really, really, really good, actually. And he's a left footer. He's good at passing. He's very young and dynamic, and he's got all of those traits as well. So there is, Hincape's been mentioned. Again, I'd need to look a little bit more into see if he's got the passing stats and those sort of centre-back playmaking qualities that we're apparently looking for. But are there other options out there? Is it, like I say, a misnomer to even think that there is another person we could buy? In what world now are Bluecoat choosing to be stingy with the signings after everyone that they've brought in, right? All of the South American children and all of these fluff players that we buy in and loan out, and we paid 20 mil for Amari Kellyman, man, and he's literally not... Has he ever even played a game? Have we ever even seen Amari Kellyman on the pitch? You can't go just throwing your money around like that, and then when your manager comes to you and says, oh look, we've lost this really important piece of our puzzle for the entire season, please go and get me another one. And they're like, nah, mate, you got to look for stuff internally. Maybe Trevor Chalobah can do it. Maybe Benoit Badiashile isn't so bad after all. I don't know, man. This could be the first source of problems between the manager and the hierarchy that we've seen, right? And it's not just one guy. It's not just Egbali. There's the Avengers team, isn't there, of all of the technical directors and all of the professionals and super experts who all decide the players that come in. So it's not even about Maresca going out and saying, I want this footballer. Do you know what I mean? He's not saying, get me that guy. He's just saying, this is the profile of player that I need. And without that player, things might not go well. So interesting to see what happens with that. Obviously, for the time being, you can expect Tosin Adarabioyo to be playing all of these games as long as he's fit, because as far as Maresca thinks, we actually don't have anyone else available to play that role. So moving on, Christopher Nkunku, Bayern Munich, it's heating up, and I've got a feeling this might go down to deadline day purely because... Obviously, the link's been there for a little while now. We wanted like 50 mil for him. The number I've seen today is £35 million. That does seem like a bit of a bargain for a Christopher Nkunku, right? And that looks two ways, doesn't it? Obviously, he's not made it in our team. Why hasn't he made it in our team? So, why are we trying to sell him for what we bought him for when he's not getting minutes in the Chelsea squad? It's a stylistic thing as well. Literally similar to what I was just talking about with the whole Levi Colwill thing. Christopher Nkunku has a really specific sort of position, and there isn't that position in our team. Funnily enough, he'd probably fit in really well at Man United if they hadn't have just bought Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha. So, bit of an interesting one. Christopher Nkunku, I think we can probably see that go to the wire, because if Bayern Munich maintain their interest and don't go in for anyone else and think, right, if we wait, we can get this guy for 35 mil. And from the Chelsea side of it, they're probably thinking, if we wait, maybe we can get more than 35 mil. Do you know what I mean? I do actually feel a bit bad for Nkunku, man, because he is a really good player. My kind of assertion and analysis of Christopher Nkunku is he doesn't fit in our team, and despite that, you can kind of always rely on him for a goal. The Benfica game was a really, really good example of that in the Club World Cup. Do you know what I mean? He kind of scored the goal that got us over the line and changed the momentum of the game. And it wasn't because he was fitting in really well with the team, being all over the place and, you know, being a byline winger or being that Cole Palmer type centre attacking midfielder. No, he was just in the right place at the right time, and he finished it like a champ, absolute champ. It was a scrappy rebound where loads were going on in the box, and you've got to keep composed and pay attention to what's going on. So the thing is, I see it from Chelsea's side. Obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan. Imagine that there's some bias in there. I see it from the Chelsea side because despite him not fitting our manager's tactical profile and the system that we're trying to play, you can absolutely rely on him for goals. So if a team that can use that tactical profile well in their formation and their setup comes in for him, then he is worth more than 35 mil. From the buying perspective, you're going to look at it and go, well, you don't want him, so why should we pay 50 mil for him? Give us him for 35. It's a little game of chicken. Do you know what I mean? It's a small game of chicken that is probably going to continue. Like I said, hopefully it gets done soon. I would much rather it just gets over the line and, you know, we can wish Christopher Nkunku well and not have to worry about all those wages and that personality being in and around the team, bringing things down. But at the end of the day, this is good. Like I said, I just feel like it's going to be that game of chicken, man. Yeah, I mean, what can you do? What can you do? It's like I said, I just feel bad for the player, really, because he doesn't deserve to be in the situation he's in with Chelsea. He does deserve to go out somewhere and be good. Obviously, there was loads of talk up until very recently about him being involved in the Xavi Simons deal, which has totally gone off the boil, by the way. Maybe it's still going to happen, and maybe that's another deadline day thing. But, you know, so supposedly Leipzig were interested in Christopher Nkunku. Christopher Nkunku was making kissy faces at Leipzig, and he's like, "Oh, guys, I'll come back." Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't seem to be happening either. Obviously, with the Bayern Munich news coming in, and now we're seeing, like I've said this before, when you start to see amounts of money, that's when things start to look a little bit real, right? So, Christopher Nkunku to Bayern Munich. The proposal is apparently about 35 mil. We haven't seen anything about like personal terms being agreed or anything, so it's not that far advanced yet for sure. But like I say, I think it's just best for all parties involved if we shift him off. It wouldn't be great to make a loss. Obviously, they don't want to make a loss, but I don't think making a loss on Christopher Nkunku is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of our finances. And I think it is ultimately more important to get him out. And I think Chelsea probably see that as well. Like I say, I do think that they will leave it till last minute, and if they haven't had a better bid for him, they'll probably accept the 35. So in that respect, I do think that Bayern Munich are kind of holding the cards a little bit more in this respect, because there has been lots of interest in him, but none of it has been concrete enough. You know, there's been Red Bull Leipzig, there's been Inter. Do you know what I mean? The Barcelona at one point, but they just can't even register the players they've got. Do you know what I mean? Let alone spend 40 plus 50 mil-ish on Christopher Nkunku. So, again, that's another one that we'll just have to see what happens. Have a feeling it might go to the wire. I will make a quick little thing about the Xavi Simons deal. So, it looks like it might not be happening. You know, it's a really strange one, isn't it? Because we have come out of, you know, it's basically going to happen tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, Man City were interested, which got rebuffed because Xavi Simons was like, I want the Chelsea project. And even with that, the negotiation with Red Bull Leipzig is just going on and on and on. There's been, you know, Tyreek George has been mentioned. Carney Chukwuemeka has been mentioned, who I'll get into in another aspect soon, actually. So it seems that Red Bull Leipzig aren't willing to pony up for any of the players that we want, and we're not willing to pony up for whatever it is that they want for Xavi Simons. It is a bit of a difficult one because they only technically actually bought him last January. So I keep saying 6 months. It's not 6 months. It's like what we in August, 8 months ago now. Do you know what I mean? They bought him 8 months ago, like made the 1.5-year loan permanent. And they bought him for 50 mil, which is quite a lot of money. So it makes sense then that, you know, even if he is pushing and this and that and the other, do you know what I mean? It makes sense that they're not just going to go, all right, mate, go for 50 mil, whatever. We will take nothing for you. Do you know what I mean? They've made an investment. They want to make something back on him. Again, probably going to go down to the wire. I am starting to expect that. I mean, all of our transfers are games of chicken, man, at the moment, isn't it? It's like we're playing chicken with Munich for Christopher Nkunku. We're playing chicken with Leipzig for Xavi Simons. We're playing chicken with Man United for Garnacho. And it's just like, oh, mate, when is some of this stuff just going to get done? Staying in Germany, I'll move on to Carney Chukwuemeka. So apparently, like, again, I don't know how true this is, but I just thought it was funny, so I'm going to talk about it. So Dortmund put in like a £20 million bid for Carney Chukwuemeka after we said, no, you can't have him on loan. We're only looking at a permanent sale. And apparently that has soured the relationship slightly, right? With Chelsea, can't believe that we've been lowballed for a player. I'm like, mate, you joking, man. We obviously try and lowball for players all the time. We're lowballing Man United for Garnacho right now. I mean, it's literally happening right now. So I can't believe that we've taken offence to Dortmund being like, 20 mil? Do you know what I mean? Oh, whatever, man, whatever. Carney Chukwuemeka is in the bomb squad. And again, that's another sad one because he looked like a wicked player. That West Ham goal will live in my mind rent-free forever because it was just a moment where you were like, oh, maybe he's the one. Do you know what I mean? And he was obviously still like 19, 20 at the time. Do you know what I mean? And he obviously big injury, another one of those who had a really, really big injury, curtailed his development in the vis-a-vis Armando Broja and, do you know what I mean? Oh, so many others, man. Injuries. It's just such a nightmare, isn't it? But yeah, he was obviously at Dortmund on loan for the back half of last season, if not all of last season. And he obviously really enjoyed it there. They obviously really like him because we've gone from loan talks to sales. But it's just like Dortmund are like, George, we'll give you 20 mil for him. And we're like, no. And apparently that's soured the relationship. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that Chelsea will do lots of business with Dortmund. They like developing young players. We like developing young players. They are only difficult to deal with because they are one of the best negotiators in football, right? So we'll just have to see what happens with that one. So Nicholas Jackson supposedly is being left out of the squad for the Crystal Palace game. The writing's been on the wall for a while. This isn't a huge surprise to anyone, I don't think. All we're looking at now is Delap and João Pedro, isn't it? Nicholas Jackson hasn't been in the squad. Do you know what I mean? Was he even in the squad for the Club World Cup final? I don't think he was. Liam Delap and João Pedro have made Jackson yesterday's news very, very quickly. Do you know what I mean? I would be surprised if João Pedro doesn't score more goals than Nicholas Jackson did in his first season, and I wouldn't be surprised if Liam Delap manages more goals than Nicholas Jackson did last season either, and that is with both of them sharing that spot when Nicholas Jackson has been our unimpeded first choice with no competition in that striker spot for the last 2 seasons. Aston Villa makes sense. There's the Unai Emery connection. They've all got very nice things to say about each other. It's all very, very lovely. Ollie Watkins is getting towards the end of his career. Leon Bailey's looking like he's on his way out. And, I would be interested to see if Unai Emery would actually potentially see Jackson as a winger option as well as just a striker. Do you know what I mean? Playing the likes of Morgan Freeman, Morgan Rogers in his centre attacking role rather than out from the left, having someone like Jackson on the left and then Ollie Watkins up top. They are making money as well. Do you know what I mean? They've just sold Jacob Ramsey, I think it is, to Newcastle. We've had the here we go for him from Fabrizio Romano. Jackson to Aston Villa makes sense. I'm just really, really interested at what the amount is now. Do you know what I mean? Because Jackson's price for this entire window has been nuts. It's like 100 mil, 80 mil, 60 mil, 80 mil. It's been all over the place. I can see anywhere upwards of 60 is reasonable. Anywhere upwards of 70 is like, okay, we've got a good deal there. Anything upwards of 80 is like we are robbing whoever buys him off of us. But he's not going to stay in the squad, right? And there's obviously the Newcastle situation to keep an eye on as well, because Alexander Isak has absolutely said, I'm not playing for Newcastle ever again. Eddie Howe's come out and been like, yeah, it's obviously we can't have him around the team at the moment. So you'd have to think, although Ekitike does look good, doesn't he? He scored and got an assist. Was it 2 goals as well? Had a really, really good showing for Liverpool yesterday in their Premier League opener, which I'll get to in a second for one Chelsea-related reason as well. But yeah, Jackson is probably going to go. Do you know what I mean? It's felt like it for a while. It doesn't even feel like he's part of the team anymore. Do you know what I mean? But that's not necessarily a bad thing. He had lots of potential. He had 2 full seasons without any competition to nail down that spot, and he won the battle over Christopher Nkunku, who couldn't get a game. But João Pedro and Liam Delap look like a different gravy compared to him, right? So what will be. And just hope it happens soon, man. I've got a feeling that all of this stuff's going to happen in the last few days of the window now, and it's just a bit nuts. So I will wrap up today's video with a little story about, so the Premier League's back, right? Yesterday was the first Premier League game, the opener, where Liverpool took on Bournemouth, and Jordi Petrovic is in goal for Bournemouth right now. The score was 4-2. So what that shows you from the off is Liverpool have frailties. It's very, very early in their season, don't get me wrong, and they've got 2 new fullbacks in their defence, and they're without Gravenberch as well, which is obviously massive because their midfield was Szoboszlai and McAllister yesterday, and they're both really good, you know, playmaker-y attacking options, but they haven't necessarily got that steel. So when you're relying, it's almost like you're entirely relying on your centre-backs, because Jeremy Frimpong is not really a defensive fullback. He can play there and he will play there, but ultimately he's going to play there better when Gravenberch's back, do you know what I mean? Because there'll be more steel to protect the defence. And Kerkez is not, you know, good defender, good attacker sort of thing, but they took advantage of Liverpool's frailties yesterday, but ultimately couldn't keep Liverpool from scoring 4 goals because their attack is so good. Now, what you have to think there is Petrovic was probably at fault for a couple of those. Not fault, but he needed to do better to not concede 4 goals. Do you know what I mean? So maybe we've dodged a bullet there is all I'm saying. Now, I was a massive proponent of keeping Petrovic, don't get me wrong, but maybe this is what Maresca was seeing, do you know what I mean? Because Maresca basically just wasn't ever giving him a chance at all. And we didn't sell him for a huge amount either, do you know what I mean? We only sold him for 25 mil, so it's not, and we paid like 10 to 12 mil for him in the first place. So it wasn't like he was an academy player and we got loads of book money for him, do you know what I mean? It was just, okay, we make a little profit on him. I hope he does well, man. I hope any player that comes in and doesn't have a proper crack at the Chelsea team goes out and does well, because we all see the potential, do you know what I mean? But I've been waxing lyrical about Robert Sanchez recently, and I say waxing lyrical, I'm just trying to convince myself that not going in for a goalkeeper is a good idea. But, you know, we'll see how it happens, man. We'll see how it goes. And that is going to be it for today, guys. So tomorrow we are back. It is the Crystal Palace-Chelsea game, and I have already released my match preview. If you haven't seen that, guys, please go and check it out. I would love to know what you think. I want to hear what your starting 11s are. Put them in the comments in this video if you want, or go and check out that video and put them in there and see what I had to say about it. Nice one, guys. I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked day, and I can't wait to catch up with you soon. Take it easy. Peace.